Hey guys, I'm WOOO. Welcome back to another Division 2 build video, and today guys I am showcasing my Unstoppable Force skill build for PvE, stacking an extra 20% weapon damage on this build. It is quite nice rolling with this, and it's something I never thought I would use or utilise in any form of PvE in terms of a skill build, that is. I've used Unstoppable Force many times as that kind of tank build to get the extra damage and just spec primarily into stamina, i.e. armor and health. But I wanted to try something a little bit different out, a little bit outside the box. Is this viable in PvE? So what I decided to put together is this Frankenstein build, which is Unstoppable Force, yes, and 3k skill power. Is it possible? And to stack some nice sexy 20% extra weapon damage on this build, and yes, it surely is. And it really is super strong because you're a little bit tankier because you've got a lot of armor, and not to mention you've got your skills which deal some crazy damage, and yes, you've got some damage release on the build as well, which does buff your build out. It makes you quite tanky for PvE, not to mention 100k health. So this build, yes, is strong in PvE content. I would not use this in PvP. Just no way. It's not something I would utilise at all because it's dependent on the kill. The good thing with Unstoppable Force is skills also proc the talent Unstoppable Force, which is pretty cool for PvE because you're going to get that consistent 20% weapon damage on your build. Guys, you see the footage in the background. This is heroic content. And yes, let's take a look at the build. Hey guys, yes, I'm WOOO, back once again like the Renegade Master with another Division 2 build for PvE. This one, again, you've seen the footage, heroic content might add. So I know heroic content's not that difficult, I get it, but doing the hardest content in the game with this build is a breeze. It is. This is my Unstoppable Force PvE build with 3k skill power. Let's take a look. Okay guys, yes, I'm using the Nerf gun specialization, and I'm loving this specialization. It's key for me because I want to boost my skill power from 2k to 3k, and this build does that. Also gives me that extra bit of skill damage as well on the build. Now, I have 1 offensive stat, 11 defensive stats, and 10 utility stats. I'm rolling 2-piece hardwire for the extra 20% skill power. If you do have a piece of, whether it be on your knee pads or your holster with empowered, that's quite cool because that'll give you the extra 20% skill power. I do, however, they're not as nicely rolled as these pieces, and they don't grant me as much skill power as I want on the build because hardwired is nice. So my hardwired pieces are really good. Now, this is super fun to use in PvE. It is face tank with 400k armor, 100k health, and 3k skill power. So you are super duper strong in PvE. Yes, you can face tank and you will get that extra 20% weapon damage. And as I go through the build, I'll explain how and why. Now, let's go through the mask. Okay, so the mask is China Light Industries Corporation. That's 10% explosive damage, 51% damage to elites, 19% skill haste, and 40% explosive damage. This is my skill build mask of choice. Now the chest piece is Murakami Industries, which is 8% health, 17,627 armor, 33,265 health, and 17% total armor. It has the talent Unstoppable Force. Killing an enemy grants 1% weapon damage for every 20,000 max armor you have. So let's do a little bit of math. So let's times that by 10. That will grant me, yes, 200,000 armor. So I need 200,000 armor to get 10% damage. Let's double that. So that's 20% weapon damage with 400k armor. And you see it's 400.3k. So that's an extra 20% weapon damage, which granted is up 90% of the time on this build. So if you're using this in challenging content, it is up all the time. Simple as that. Heroic, a little bit less downtime because, again, the enemies are super strong. This is fun to use in PvE because of this talent. Unstoppable Force also works on skills, and I'll demonstrate that at the end of the video. You've probably seen it in the footage anyway, but I'll quickly show you at the end to show you how powerful this is. In terms of the mods, skill power with headshot kill XP and explosive damage, which synergizes well with the Seeker Mines I'm using, and armor, total armor with explosive resistance. Now the holster is hardwired, again that 20% skill power, and 719 skill power, 27330 health, so you can see why I'm using this nicely rolled, hardwired holster. Now the utility mods are skill power increasing snare and increased bleed, and skill power with bleed damage and outgoing healing. Now the knee pads again hardwired, and it is skill power. I've used this mod just to boost up my skill power a little bit more, which is skill power, increased blind and burn duration. And the defensive mod is armor, explosive resistance, and total armor. The gloves are the BTSU gloves, and we all know what they do by now. I'm using that again just to buff my skills. The more they're buffed, the more damage that my skills do, and not to mention I'm getting that extra 20% weapon damage. It gives me the chance to face tank effectively in PvE. Do not use this in PvP. It's not PvP build whatsoever. It won't work because you need to proc that kill. Once you get that kill, you get the extra weapon damage, and there's not a lot of weapon damage on this build to begin with. So to get that damage, you need to proc the kill. So PvP is not something I'd look at in the slightest. But for PvE, it is absolutely shit hot. Now, in terms of the mods I'm using with this, it's skill power with explosive damage, increased kill XP, skill power with bleed damage, and armor with total armor and explosive resistance. And the backpack is my juicy Gila Guard brand set, which is 5% total armor, 18.5% total armor, 3000 health, and 2977 armor. So that's really good defensive backpack, in all honesty. Plus using the talents on the ropes, weapon damage increased by 15% while all skills are on cooldown, and hardened, that's plus 15% armor. Now on the ropes is great. He's absolutely great because if you use your Seeker Mines and your hive is refilling or recharging, you will get the extra weapon damage on your build consistently. So I'd like to have that extra 15% weapon damage, couple that with Unstoppable Force. Again, that's an extra 35% weapon damage just by these two pieces. Now the mods, utility mod is skill power, bleed damage, burn damage, and the defensive mod is armor, explosive resistance, and total armor. And the weapon of choice is the military P416. I'm using this because I have Sadist as my primary talent. Deal plus 30% weapon damage to bleeding enemies. After 3 kills, applies bleed to the next enemy you hit. And that again, that synergizes to the weapon quite nicely. Optimized, which is 15% weapon handling, and rooted. While equipped and in cover, all skill damage and healing is increased by 25% for 10 seconds. The buff is lost when exiting cover. Can occur once per 60 seconds. Because, again, this is a face tank build. So the good thing is you're not spending a lot of time in cover with this build, especially in challenging content. But when you do pop in cover, you're going to get that extra skill damage. So use this strategically, use your brain, and I'm sure you will get that 25% more than you know. In terms of the mods, reload speed, rounds, reload speed, and optimal range of a deficit 10%. However, I'm getting that 20% stability. However, I do want some damage to elites on here. I'm sure I have a damage to elites piece I can pop on here somewhere, may I add. Let's have a look. There it is. That's what I was after. There you go. So that's the military P416. Now my secondary is the Merciless, and I'm using this for the explosive damage, which is granted by the holstered talent, Brutality. While holstered, landing a shot has a 5% chance to deal plus 100% damage as explosive damage. And that's nice because, again, I've got the explosive piece on my mask, which is quite nice, and a few bits and bobs that tally up on the mods to give me that extra bit of kick. And we're Merciless procs, and that is a nice beefy amount of damage to NPCs. Now, the sidearm is the 93R, and I'm using that solely because in Riven, while equipped, enemy kills have a 5% chance to refresh. Your active skill cooldowns can occur once per 60 seconds. And again, that will proc every minute because your skills are quite strong with this build. Now let's take a look at the skills. Now, I'm using Seeker Mines and the cluster ones. And we just take a look at the damage. So the 19.1 second cooldown. Not the greatest, it is what it is, that's fine. But again, with this build, it is the cooldown around that 20-second mark. That gives me that extra on the ropes proc for longer, and that's nice. There's 9 mines and damage of 430k. PvP damage 107. If you did want to take some PvP, I wouldn't recommend it. And skill haste, damage, and extra cluster mines. What I've opted for on the Seeker Mine skill variant. Now the Hive, that's my kind of primary skill, and that synergizes with the military P416 due to the Sadist weapon damage talent. So 2.4 second refill speed, 22 charges. If you have recharged on your holster talents, you will get an extra few by there, so 24, 25 in total. Range of 8 meters. The damage is 131,320. And in terms of the mods, 97.8 damage, which is really nicely rolled one. That's pretty much god roll. Charges and more charges on the system slot. Now that's the build. That's what we're looking at. Let's take a look at the stats. So with the stats, we can see again the weapon damage is just a base 15,368. There's no crit. This is not a crit build at all, so I'm not built for that. I built for the extra weapon damage from the talents on the gear. Again, just the generic 15% assault rifle damage. Again, there's no assault rifle damage mods on there. There's no offensive mods. You can see there's just one offensive, and that is just damage to elites of 51%. Now my damage to elites is 56%. My explosive damage is 55.5%. Now my armor is 400k, so I'm going to get that 20% extra weapon damage. My health is nearly 98k. Again, 100k, give or take a few thousand. Now, explosive resistance is 14.55. I've got no hazard protection, which is okay. Is what it is. I've got a nice stack of armor, which does help in PvE. Skill haste 19%, and that's good because on the ropes is procced for longer on this build. And that is it. This is the build. Tell me what you think in the comment section, guys. Is it something that you think that's doable? Is it worthwhile? Guys, I have used this in heroic content, and I have breezed through it. Absolutely breezed. It's been a doddle. So I do recommend it. I don't do shit build videos, and if it is a shit build, I would not recommend it. I'm attaching my name to it, so why would I shout about it? But this build does work, and it is hugely viable. And if you want to see more builds like this, then make sure you obviously drop a like. That helps. But also subscribe to the channel because there is a shitload of content just around the corner. But guys, hope you've enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.